Okay, folks, good morning. I try something a little bit different. Actually, that'd probably be fine. Okay. I've always wondered if there's a way to make the screen a little bit more zoomed in using the computer. I think I was able to do it a little bit. Nothing super drastic, but just a little bit more than normal. We're gonna have to give this a good basting. All this stuff it comes off. I see that's shaking, and that's too close to the end of it. Okay. Gotta protect this table, man. I don't really want to buy another one. And I'm not really doing anything particularly destructive to it, but a little flecks of paint here and there. It's all acrylic, so that comes off with some hand sanitizer. I just don't like looking at it. Okay, so yesterday I crashed early. I was really tired, so I think I was in bed by 9:30, which is even okay. We plugged in. It's even earlier than normal. And I wanted to finish the Kowalski up, but the base color was a little too wet still. So we're going to dry brush around Kowalski's base. And since we have to grab those colors anyways, we're going to go ahead and do the same thing with this wall section. So we're going to get the dry brush out here, dry brushing out here, and get to work on that. I really don't like my brushes being down here, but it's a reasonable place for them to be. They are out of the way. Let's pull a couple of these out, and then maybe one that's, or maybe this one. And then one we can get into the smaller places. There we go. For dry brushing. The frontier brushes end up turning into dry brushes. After a while, they start losing their disciplined shape. They start finding other things for them to do. Got a bad habit of pulling things out and then not putting them right back. Some of it might have to do with the fact that I can't see. It looks kind of dull. Is it plugged in? Yeah, I guess it is plugged in. I don't know. It might be a slow Saturday. Maybe people are tired of my nonsense. Oh well. We're definitely going to have to pick up this room because it's a little too for my take. A little too much on top of me. All right. So we're going to get the US field drab out. And we got lots of things stacking up to be sealed in the garage. So I don't like firing up the airbrush for just one thing, so maybe we'll do some airbrushing this weekend. At the front part, we're going to have to use a smaller brush for that. That didn't take long to need some air circulation. Make sure the settings are right on here. Let's make sure that we got, there we go. Go. Had a slow start this morning. I got up at my normal time, but actually I don't even know what I did. I had breakfast and then I surfed around some on my phone. Nothing good to show for it. You'd think that the day that I went to bed earlier than any other day in memory, I would have had a not so slow start, but alright, it's good enough for that color. Drop this in the rinse. Move that. I should not move that. Keep it right there. And then the one we were using for dry brushing, let's go back to the wall since we have that same color here. And I don't know what we're going to do with this. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but actually I think it's going to turn out just fine. I just don't know what direction I'm going to go with it. I don't think we're going to turn this into a hedgerow or anything. If I do that, then it's not going to look like my other hedgerows. I think we're just going to have this as an overground wall. We're going to put some, maybe some tufts in here. And we've had these things for 30 freaking years, though. Uh-oh, we got a morning dissertation. I don't know what to make of that. Hopefully it's a positive message. I'll wake up and I'll see something on Facebook, and the next thing, you know, I'm spending the next 15, 20 minutes following the thread. And one that's really common is I don't know, I even got I get like these glimpses of Facebook groups that I'm not a member of. It's nothing controversial, but it's stuff like movies and things like that. Hollywood throwback, or I don't know exactly what they're called, but you know, it's things like that. And one of them that I got sucked into, I didn't comment, I get sucked into them, but I don't really comment on them, was about that movie that I'd say people really split about, but I don't know many people that actually like the movie. But in commentary, you have a lot of folks that really are looking forward to dying on certain. I'll die on this hill. Lots of people that are just, you know, they want to write a lot of stuff and don't care if they make an ass of themselves and don't care if they convince anybody. But regardless, this movie and talk about it is one movie I saw one time, and I definitely fall into the camp of people that didn't enjoy the movie. And that movie is Thin Red Line. And you know, you'll see people that have positive things about Thin Red Line, but it's 1 out of 5. It's probably, you know, 80 to 20%. I was definitely in 80% of the people that didn't really care for the movie. But I'm willing to watch it again if I see it come about. But you know, I remember it being boring and not being about what I want to see in a war movie. What I want to see in a war movie is, you know, equipment and tactics in action. That's what I'm interested in seeing. If it doesn't have equipment and tactics in action, I'm not interested in seeing the war movie. You know, that's what I'm there for. So, it might be great on other aspects, but that's what I show up for. Just like, you know, if I'm going to go play a game, I want to roll my own dice. You know, I don't want a game where it's like, well, it's already figured in. You just pull cards and that's what happens. Well, that's not my kind of game. It might work for other people, but and I know folks that are just scared to do, you know, they're not part of my regular game group. I've known folks that are just scared to death rolling dice. They think the dice are out to get them, so they don't like playing games with dice. I don't know why. You know, as I mentioned several weeks ago, a term that I'm going to give myself credit for coming up with, because I've actually never heard somebody say it, is every time you have a dice, a chance to roll dice, it's an opportunity for greatness. It's an opportunity for something amazing to happen. It's out of your control, but you know, you might be a witness to some amazing event. And you just don't know if you're not playing with dice. And I've seen some crazy ass coincidences. Was this the one that we had used for the dry brush? This seems like an awfully... No, this seems like an awfully good brush to be relegating it to that. Yeah. Maybe I did. Okay, well, we'll be careful with it. We certainly need one that... Really? No. Huh? Okay, it's not like I don't have enough. I do need to get in there between Kowalski's legs. It's true. We don't want this stuff all over him. There we go. I promise to be gentle. I don't want to destroy this brush any more than I have to. Here we go. And it's kind of a wet dry brush anyways. And I got sucked into. We have a local Facebook group for the town that I live in, and it is just full of people just complaining about anything. Villers-Bocage. A este paso nos salimos de la ruta 13 de la carretera del infierno. Formaré una palabra alemana famosa en el día. Villers-Bocage. I'm reading a book on Villers-Bocage right now. Well, I think eventually it's going to work its way in there, but I know it's a good book, but I'm really struggling with finishing it. It's a memoir of some British tankers, and the plot of it has nothing to do with it. It's just really... it's a little too memoirish. Like, I was over here, and this guy came over here for a ham sandwich, and he doesn't really like mayonnaise on it. So I mean, I'm obviously making up the details, but it's on that level, and I'm struggling to finish it for a couple of reasons. It's very detail oriented like that, and my drive to work is not very long. So by the time I get into it, back where we were at, I'm at work. So it's not being really successful that way. But it's not a bad book. It just I'm just having trouble getting into it. And I know they keep mentioning Villers Bocage, so we're eventually going to work our way in there. I need to go pull up a map of the area, because they keep mentioning these towns that, sometimes when you read a book, they'll mention something, and then you're like, how was that spelled? Because I'm used to reading, and you'll see a word written, and then you're trying to visualize, what exactly it is that they're talking about. Te faltan los 88s. Yeah, I don't have any 88s. And I'm very limited on my Spanish vocabulary. I mean, I can speak Spanish. I only speak Spanish to my mom and my dad when he was around. Only speak Spanish to them. But I never went to school. So I don't have the vocabulary. And I don't know, like, technical terminology. So if I had to describe to somebody, if I had to try to do my job in Spanish, it would be very difficult. Because I would basically be interjecting English words into stuff all the time. So, like, for instance, cada tres setos. I don't know what setos is. Every 3, I don't know what that is. I have to look it up. Setos in English. Is it every kilometer or something like that? Come on. Setos in English. Man, why is my phone so slow? Oh, I just did an update. I figured I wouldn't need it. That was a mistake. Come on. In sets. Okay. Yeah, I don't have any 88 millimeters. I don't have any 88 millimeters yet. There's a lot of crew, man. There's like an 8-man crew for the. It's funny because the 88s come in all kinds of different flavors. Oh my God. Get rid of all these things. There's 3 flavors of 88 millimeter, right? There's the standard one, and I don't know the codes. Is it the 36, 37? The standard ones that they use to Halfaya Pass. The ones that Rommel used in 1940 and 41 and 42. And then there's 2 other versions. There's the one that's called the barn door, which is, I believe, on either a 105 or a 150 legs. Base with the double legs. And then there's the one with the cruciform one. So the low profile cruciform, I don't like the way that one looks. And I want to say that's the 43, 41. But I really haven't used those things much in war games, so that's why I'm not more knowledgeable about them. Pack 40 en las ruinas del granero de tejado hundido. MGs según la planta, morteros en el patio trasero. Do you speak English? ¿Hablas inglés? ¿Hablas inglés? Porque te puedo explicar en inglés. En español no sé mucho. No tengo un vocabulario extensivo. Son palabras que no hablo con mi mamá y mi papá. I'm uneducated in Spanish. I never went to school, so I guess my Spanish is equivalent to somebody from Mississippi here in the United States trying to speak English, but with better pronunciation. We need to do a black rim around the edge of Kowalski. We don't want to use this. We want to use the craft paint because the craft paint is much, much flatter. So I don't have to worry about it being shiny. Yeah, we're doing Normandy first only because I have a sizable amount of Americans. But I like the Eastern Front the best. I like the Eastern Front the best, but got lots of Normandy stuff. That allows me to add the French partisans in there, which I got a handful of them in my Brits, and so I guess there's more. I just like the Eastern Front because it goes on for a much longer period. But all right, which one of these brushes are we going to use for the edge of this? Your English is Republican. My English is Republican Spanish, the Ninth Division of Liberation of Paris. Okay. El Español. We're supposed to go next year, but who knows if that's going to happen. It's too difficult for those of us in the United States to take time off. And unfortunately, in my future, I think it's going to get even worse. So I'm really not happy about that. But one day at a time. But I'd rather not be able to travel all over the world and be able to interact with folks like this, from different places, than not be able to interact from people from different places until you show up there. So. Sí, Canario. Canario. La preferencia Atlántico. Hello, let's do. This should work. I can put a little bit of an angle, and I'm just being lazy, not using a wet palette. But it just takes up too much space, and it's not that helpful when I'm painting one figure at a time. I prefer to paint one figure at a time. Keeps me focused. What is this? A little bubble that was forming. Okay, so we just set him off to the side. We're going to put high grass or something on that. And while Kowalski dries? No, we don't need him to die yet. He needs to launch a couple of those rifle grenades. So, several years ago, I came in contact with somebody who's a pretty avid player of a game I used to play for almost 2 decades. And he's from Spain. I forget where exactly he's from Spain. But I started interacting with him, and he has a YouTube channel where he's, I mean, he doesn't post as extensive as I do, but he has a YouTube channel where he does like live gameplays using Tabletop Simulator. And he asked if we could film some games, you know. And at the time, I was doing games of that with my partner, and I don't mean partner. I mean the person that I play with games. Terms that have a new meaning now that didn't before. And since I'm an early riser, that would be a great combination, right? Because by the time I'm awake, I can pretty much do anything I want as on a weekend between 5 a.m. and say 7:30, 8. I'm not really in anybody's way. So I'm like, this is great. We can do some games. I can practice some Spanish because I just don't know technical words for like crossbowmen. And he told me what it was, and it was a word like super, super long. Words that I just never knew because I didn't talk about it with my parents. And we did one that way. And other than the system being really glitchy, his work schedule really didn't work because he actually was like, he does like a nightclub or something like that. So he's like asleep at the same time. He goes to sleep at the time that I get up. So it never worked out, but that was a shame. I was actually looking forward to doing some cross-Atlantic play. ¿Has probado hacer caseríos con ladrillos de tergopol de 2 milímetros, casas enteras, habitación por habitación, con papel decorativo en las paredes interiores y exteriores, en cartón repintado? Yo estoy en fase de Mons, Bélgica, campaña de las Adrenas, en 1.72. Pero los ingleses. No, I really don't want to do modeling on that scale. Papel decorativo. Cada casa que yo he vivido, aquí, que han sido como 3 o 4, la primera cosa que le hago es le quito el papel decorativo. Y pintar de un color sólido. No, las cosas así chiquitas yo no lo he hecho en realidad. Yo antes hacía modelos en 1.35, pero ya hace mucho tiempo que no hago eso. Probablemente desde el principio de los 90s. Y no me gusta hacer estas escalas y con la habilidad de jugar un juego eventualmente con eso, pero... Although, to be honest with you, I could probably do this game in 1/35th scale. I could probably skirmish game 1/35th. This game is crunchy enough for that. See, I can read okay. I just don't have the vocabulary. I don't have the vocabulary. Sí, las de tarjetas. Yeah. Les dieron pal pelo a los ingleses ahí, in Mons. That's World War I. I haven't done World War I yet. The war with no bad guys. Yeah, there's bad guys. Just the war should have never been fought. Stupid war. All wars are, to a degree, stupid. But okay, back to, what did we say this guy was going to be? D'Angelo? This is going to be some Italian American. I hate that. I hate hyphenating something with American. Just be American. Stop trying to subdivide us in little boxes. Se consiguen buenas extensiones en dioramas, las de punto de vista ambos bandos. I joined I got invited to join a Eastern Front diorama group this last week. And I'm like, maybe I'll go ahead and join it and I'll get ideas for maybe making things look better. because one of the things that really motivates me is I want to play a war game that looks like the stuff in War Games magazines. It's not fair. It's not fair that some people get to play on things that look that awesome, and we don't. So let me take this off of my phone. It restarted my phone. All of a sudden, T-Mobile wants to like take advantage of my. I don't want to optimize my apps. I have all the apps exactly how I want them. Stop fucking with my thing. Para de joder. And I've come pretty close. You know, I plan on having every game look better than the previous one. And the bricks, man, the bricks really made a difference when you can have a battlefield that looks like that. And that's ladrillos individuales. And I got them, and I wasn't really happy with how they looked. They looked very, very. They were all like almost this color right here. Almost like pink. And then I'm like, I gotta do something. So I gave them a wash. I dumped them in a wash. Not all of them at once, little bits at a time. Nailed it. You know, as you get more experience, one of the things that happens is you encounter problems that you want to deal with. And because you've solved more and more things in the past, you get better and better at coming up with a solution, a good solution that you're happy with the first time you try it, instead of like being frustrated and having to walk away from it. That's the one thing I noticed. You know, and I did the bricks. I'm like, okay, it's missing something. Well, we got to do some sticks and stuff, and you know, I'm gonna buy some talus and work that way in there. But I think we got that. Well, the trees, the fact that I can get trees to stand by themselves, that those stupid stands. You know, I want a diorama you can play on. But it also needs to be, you know, collapsible. It can't be like, I don't want to use like permanent, I don't have storage for all that kind of stuff. I don't want to have storage for all that kind of stuff. So, I definitely want the terrain that looks, this is the one that my wife likes. Of course, she gets into the buildings because she can kind of relate. And this is just me throwing the bricks out there randomly. I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it. But yeah, that's the stuff that gets me motivated to do this thing, to have, you know, these scenes that, and so much that was on here was handmade. I mean, the buildings are pre-made, but the roadway and stuff, I'm improving on my skills little by little, and it's because of the internet. We all lift each other up on the internet. You'll see something, it's like, man, that's really cool. Let me incorporate that in my game as well. You know, so I really don't have a lot of tolerance for people that are negative about the hobby. You know? Cuando se juntan los ingleses, los canadienses y los argelinos. What is argelinos? De la Francia libre en el mismo escenario en las vías. I don't know what argelinos is. ¿Qué es argelinos? La Baker americana no salió de Bastonia. La Easy del 171 avanzó hasta Remania, pero eso es el láser de láser hasta la Virgen de la Catedral sin dejar la cosa de famoso estirar forma crea sin apenas medios. Lo único que gasto dinero en soldados y maquetas, todo lo demás lo pago mañana con pegamento que está fuerte. There's a lot of things that you can make out of stuff that's just laying around. And it's not about being frugal, it's just about being smart. I mean, you gotta save where you can, you know. So I'm not gonna make my own bricks, you know. I mean, I'll sub those out. You know, they always say, hey, you need to delegate things. Well, I'm delegating that stuff to somebody else to make the bricks. You know, so I spent like $60 on bricks, including shipping. Shipping was half of it or whatever. And I got just shy of 20,000 bricks. So I think that's good in the brick color for now until we go to, you know, if I was going to do Stalingrad or something like that, it'd be different. But I'm not a big Stalingrad fan. Stalingrad can be a little too leveled. You know, it's Stalingrad can be mostly rubble with a few leftovers of buildings. It's not like buildings with rubble. It's like rubble with buildings, and it's a little too static for me. The time period's okay. I like that late 42. I like the Eastern Front early years. Okay, so his shirt, we pretty much finished it. It's a little bit more faded than I would have liked, but that's okay. It's time to do his rifle next, and I really didn't like using this old rifle color from, it was just too difficult to work with. It's a little too dried, so I'm going to go ahead and use the beige brown and just see how I get on with that. As you people across the pond say, see how you get on with it. Oh, this is I'm not going to do that. This is a good alternative color for the pants. All right, we're going to leave that out here because I like to vary them a little bit. Let's go ahead and struggle with this. Let's go ahead and struggle with this color. And struggle with it because it's just old. There's nothing wrong with it. I love Coat d'Arms. I think this was this isn't the Coat d'Arms. This is a Citadel color. All right, we'll use this one. Unless it's too dry, in which case we're going to throw it away. Bricks can be made from sprue. You know, to use... Good morning, Jeffrey. To use a Americanism, ain't nobody got time for that. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for it. Los Argelinos son... Argelinos is Algeria. Okay. See, that's funny because I would have called... See, this shows how uneducated I am in Spanish. I would have called Algeria in Spanish Argelia. I guess that is... Oh, I guess I said it the right way. I'm just ignorant. I've got no Spanish education. Sorry. Ahora cruzan el estrecho de Gibraltar en cayucos, como los tiempos de Asdrúbal. Los saladinos los están festejando todavía. I know. My daughter is supposed to go study in Spain for a few months next year. So we'll see if she's not surrounded by Moors. Citadel Color with the U there. I like color spelled with it. I've said it before. I like English spellings, but I like American pronunciation. I'm not going to go all aluminium or advertisement. Cayucos. I've never heard that word, but I know what it means by deduction. I'm not going to use this brush. We've been really happy using this one. And it's rather large, but it rather works. And I hope I like this color for the... Well, not every Garand is the same. This is... I don't know what paints are these, Jeffrey? If this is Games Workshop Mark IV or something like that. The original ones were great. Then the ones that came after that sucked. And then this is the next iteration, or maybe there's another one in between them, but These are okay. I painted a good portion of my World War II figures using Mark I Citadel paints. I'm getting a lot of shadow here. This guy's a pretty tall figure, so he's a big Italian. And if you watch war movies or something like that, and I don't know I know the demographics of people have changed throughout the years. We're a lot taller than people used to be 80 years ago. I mean, as a general rule. At least in the United States. We're also a lot fatter than we used to be. Hey, the food's a lot better. We have less English food now. No, we all eat more than we're supposed to, but height-wise, we're taller than people were in the 1940s. But still, if you watch like war movies and they depict Italians, Italian Americans, God, I hate hyphenating shit. But in a land where everybody likes to hyphenate stuff, I hate hyphenating things. They're depicted as being shorter than the average bear. So this guy is a big dude. Well, whatchamacallit, and I forget this, Vin Diesel, who I don't know, he might be part Italian. When he was in Saving Private Ryan. He's a pretty big guy. I mean, he's bigger than I am. He's about 6 foot or whatever. Of course, he didn't spend much time in the movie, but he's supposed to play an Italian guy. There were the dreadful screw-lidded bottles. Those sucked. Those are terrible. España es bonita. Llevamos 5,000 años liándonos a hostizas con todos los de alrededor. Las hostias. Liándonos a hostias con todos los de alrededor, las hostias al pueblo, la sangre de Cristo para el cura de bendice a los soldados, pero no, él no se mete. Al que no bendice, se te reencarna y lo tienes que volver a matar. Los llaman zombie. Vin Diesel is a big D&D fan, yeah. And D&D has a bad rap, and of course I haven't played D&D since I was 14 years old, and probably wouldn't play. My biggest problem, my daughter actually has played D&D, and my daughter's, I would not call her nerdy. My daughter won't go to a game store with me because she's creeped out by, game folks. Gamers. I don't blame her. They're weird. Gamers are weird, man. It's weird people that don't shower daily. Or worse. She finds the males of her generation really weird. Like, no social skills. Damaged by COVID or whatever. Like, I wasn't like a ladies' man when I was like 18 or 19 years old because, I lived in a college town where all these rich kids had cars and stuff. And I'm like, well, I don't really have a job. I don't really have money, That's what brought me down. But other than that, I wasn't one of these like, I can't talk to a girl, Sometimes I had to use pliers to open those bottles. I've had some of those bottles that I got to use once. I had one that was called like Tin Bits, right? And so it was like a copper, like a dark copper tone one. I literally used it one time, put it away. When I opened it back again, it was goo. So it was a hard plastic bottom, hard plastic top, so they didn't seal well, and the paint was just elastic in a bad way. Don't like 5th edition. Still a basic and AD&D fan. Okay, so you don't like D20. I don't know what the difference is. The new stuff is what, D20? Now I'm used to using different kind of dice. I would play it if it was more like, I think what Chainmail was intended, which is just like, you have some kind of a board and you move, it's a combat thing. But I don't want to search for traps. None of that bullshit, It's basically the difference is like if you're going to translate fantasy into like a video games, okay? Because I play a lot more video games than I do tabletop stuff. Not that I play a lot of video games, but I play it a lot more frequently. I'm a big fan of like stuff like Diablo, and I can get my wife to play it too. I don't want to play like Baldur's Gate. It's a little too crunchy. It's a little too role-play-y, And I don't like this, I'm 1/4 orc, 1/16 elf that looks like an owl that identifies as a deciduous tree. That bullshit. I'm just like, no. Humans for the other humans. It's like, we're going to play all humans, and we're going to kill creatures. Okay? That's how it's going to work. 10 bits is popular in painting orcs and goblins. Lord of the Rings games. Nadie te había contado este detalle de un soldado de plástico, de los voluntarios. Vivos se sacrifican los que son padres o tienen novia, los solteros novatos tírales artillería que no se mueren. Se hacen viejos y salen en documentales. I don't know if I'm going to like this Mornfang Brown. I think we'll get on with it. Okay. I like several little Britishisms that you guys do. I'm not related to you guys at all, but you guys are still my people. I'm not one of those people that... I remember around Independence Day all the time, we haven't cared about the royals since 1776. Well, my people haven't given the fuck about you guys since 1588. Just saying. But... yeah, we didn't... My family didn't come here till 1961. 60 or 61. One of those 2 years. Yeah, we haven't given a shit about the world since 1588. Hijos de puta, perros ingleses. I never did get around to doing them. I wanted to do my whole purpose in coming up with that Renaissance stuff. Although it wasn't done right, I get it, because other people were helping me and they wanted something that covered everything. But I really wanted to do the what if of what's his face landing in England in 1588. Just give me a second. I'm out of RAM. I'm not that old, but I feel like I'm out of RAM. Every time I remember something new, I forget something. I misplace something old. Maybe that's a little bit better. Not the Duke of Alba, the other guy. Farnese. His landing. Let's see. We're going to have to get white out here. Let's see how this behaves with white. There is a lot of red in it. I hope this doesn't get too pinky. Not exactly what we're looking. Don't want my guys equipped with pink rifles, They might come with hats that match. Alessandro Farnese. That's what it is. Duke of Parma. Something like that. Man, I'm telling you, I get out of the period, and the next thing you know, I'm just like a loss for words. Yeah, Adoram. I'm ready to retire so I can remember everything. Yeah, I don't think it works that way, does it? I think this rifle color would look okay. I got a lot of 15 millimeter figures. I don't know when I'm going to touch them again, and I'm okay with that. Because you know what? These guys were waiting in the wings while I was doing nothing but 15s. And what I'm really itching to do, you're going to laugh. I'm really itching to paint a bagpiper. I'm really itching to paint a World War II bagpiper. And they're actually pretty hard to come by. There's only a couple different manufacturers that make them. There's a Scottish infantry set made by Breville, I want to say, for North Africa, 8th Army Scottish Infantry. They've got a bagpiper in there. Somebody else has... One of them has like long sleeves. I want to say that's the Revell one. Then there's another 8th Army made by somebody else that has a short sleeve one. That one's not so useful. Because there's rules in here for a bagpiper. Just basically just want to paint a bagpiper just to be annoying. Does Eschi not do one? I don't remember. I have some Eschi figures. I don't have a bagpiper. Eschi figures are really weird. They have these poses that are almost like, they're like, you've heard me complain about Essex, some of the Essex poses. Eschi figures are the same way. They're almost like they should be, like maybe they're shooting a rifle, right? Oh, I've got this zoomed in. Let's see if we can manage to fuck this up. This actually took a lot more effort than I wanted it to. No, I made this. I found a way to zoom the screen in, and then I'm not sure I made it any better. I'm just a painter. The fact that I can do any of this other stuff is just a miracle. I don't know if I can change it in the middle of it. Anyhow, so you've got. Let's see which way. You've got these figures that, normally you would be shooting a rifle like this, but Eschi does like this weird pose. Like, I don't know, it's just really awkward. Or like somebody would be carrying a rifle and go to battle like this, and they do them like, it's just very, very weird. I don't like their posings. Their sculpting is just fine. I don't like their posings. Why can't I adjust the screen how I want it? Damn you, technology. Oh, I probably just fucked it up. Oh, well. There's people that are a lot better at doing the video stuff than I am. They just can't paint. Eschi figures are weird. I haven't painted any. I'm really tempted to paint some of the old Airfix figures that we all love dearly. But the rifle butts, man, they're awfully bendy. Really, really bendy. So I'll probably do one at some point. I'll paint some Desert Rat or something like that. And see how... The sculpting on them is just fine. It looks a little different in rifle butt color, and I'm okay with that. I want them to be like they didn't come out of the same factory. There we go. All right, we've done that. We can do the straps and everything. But I feel like I need to do the skin at this point to bring him alive. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go ahead and do the flesh, which is one of the parts that I like doing more than any of the other ones, because it really brings a figure alive. Oh, we got an issue here. There we go. You shouldn't be in there. I took one of these, no, it was a Vallejo metal, and I watched a video on how to move it to a different kind of. Oh, I don't like you guys. I don't like you. I don't like you. I don't like you, container. Why is this causing so much trouble? Is it? All right, let's get the figures away from this. It's not sealing well. No, I don't really see anything there. Let's remove this. All right, now we can't. Now it's harder to spill that part. Let's get to see what's going on down here. Yeah, there's some crustacean stuff down here. We need to get rid of that, or we're not going to get a good seal. There we go. Come, move, you barnacle of paint. I wonder if I can get rid of this. I should try that. Eliminate this little part right here, and just set the top on it. Oh, it's this pendejada. It's that pendejada. Alright, I don't really have a use for that. I'm going to eliminate that from all my tops. Jesus, what a mess. Coño, que reguero. You were the culprit all along. That tells you how little I use these paints. I think I'm going to get rid of those things. That's like a big culprit. I left it open, but I'm used to like scooping some out, putting there, and then moving on. All right. Eschi and Atlantic. God, Atlantics suck. Their box art was kind of cool, but I was a stupid kid, and then I bought them, and I'm like, what the F? Super bendy. Bagpipers were not normally used on the front line, but they were never far away from a victory parade or reveille at the command of a senior officer. Ponle un druida, a blaspheming druid, on the Roman road. Tell him that you're bent adrokines. Yeah, I won't be doing any druids anytime soon. Weirdest poses. I like how you spelled that. Weirdest. Is that in? Is that how you spell it in Welsh? Weirdest. Use those Y's up, man. They're free. Use up the Y's. All right, let's paint this guy's face. Let's give this guy a facial. Yeah, Atlantic. Yeah, Atlantic figures are. Atlantic gives a bad name to the French, right? Because they're French figures. They're terrible. I ended up picking up. I only had 2 sets of them. And like I said, their box art's actually pretty decent. It looks like a pretty cool comic book. I was like 11 or something like that. I didn't know any better. And I picked up like anti-aircraft. I picked up like artillery and like something or whatever. I just don't like that they're like generic. You know. I keep wanting to pick up some Volksturm, but I need to stay on task, or I'm gonna end up buying more shit that I don't need. Some of those plastic figures are really hard to get here in the States. There's these Volksturm figures that are made by, I want to say the ones by Orion. They have this Himmler looking dude on the cover of the box art. And in there's like a little kid. That's what I want to do. I want a little Nazi kid that pops out of the house and with a Panzerfaust and get them, and they just mow them down. You know, mowing down little Nazi kids. That's the one that actually has a little Hitler figure too. You know, shriveled up Hitler. Some of those Mars and some of the Orions and some of the Strelets. Some of the Strelets are kind of rough looking, but some of the Mars and Orion. I like the Orion figures as a general rule. They look pretty. And they're what this tank crew is. Oh, I moved my tank crew. Well, no, I still got some of these guys here. This commie with flowers. I'll have to paint him eventually. It's a really good figure, and they're not that bendy. Yeah, my commie tanker with flowers. The old Norse spelling. Yeah, I like that. Never accept flowers from a communist. They rape on the first date. This is kind of a eshy type pose. The guys, next time you're in a hurry, try running like that. You know, like one foot directly behind the other. I don't know. Maybe these communists are light on their feet. Hey, it's my show. I love making fun of communists and Nazis. What else is good in life? All right, let me go get one of these. I'll be right back in a few moments. To name your tankers, you could call him Nijinsky. Why Nijinsky? What's the hidden meaning behind him? Behind that? I was going to name my tankers. Well, I told you why I wasn't going to name my tank. I can name them that. It's just going to be on a little card. I'd love to name them, but it just doesn't make practical sense. I've been trying to resist painting Japanese just for naming them. Takeshita. The Japanese would be really good to play as the GM, you know, because they're just gonna do silly stuff like get themselves killed unnecessarily. I think having some SS and play them by the GM would probably be good as well. Is there a little bit? I don't know I would have any players that would have a problem playing them. It's a bit bad form. Make everybody play SS and they got to kill Canadians. Nah, that's not cool, man. I'm going to eventually do SS just for the challenge of doing their camouflage. I think we should be able to pull it off, especially with all the great ideas that people have made videos and such. Should be easy to do now. That's why I avoided it for so many. Well, I guess I'll use this generic black. I don't need to use the Viejo black. That's what I did for the longest time. I went through so much black and white as those two colors ended up actually being craft paints. So I'm going to paint all of the fleshy bits in this color. It's like a little too wet for my liking. Just a little too wet. The rest of it will all be with the smaller brush. One thing that I've kind of noticed is I've become a little too reliant, because of doing so much numbering and hand painting of the wording on like vehicles, too reliant on using that flow aid, which I didn't use for many years. And the flow aid really disrupts the pigment of the paint much more than watering it down. So I'm going to try not to use that as much often. It's not a big deal, but you guys can't really see the difference, but I can kind of feel it. I'm like, there's no flow aid here, but try to get away from using that. It's kind of unnecessary. I didn't have it for many, many years. This guy's got lots of muscles. We're going to go over here. The flow aid actually, one thing that really helps a lot, it seems like it helps a lot, is it keeps from the paint clotting clotting the bristles. Like it just smooths better, but it's not really that big of a problem for me. There we go. Dave Alsop's painting style seems to be one of the things that's, I didn't really notice it until like I'm about to put words into it, is he has very bony elbows. It has like the elbow bones is, sticks out on a lot of his figures. I just noticed that. It doesn't really bother me. It's just his style. So one thing I noticed, and I'm kind of surprised, maybe Jeffrey will be able to tell me because he's more privy to what's going on over there in the Old Kingdom, is why rapid fire seems to be so popular. I'm kind of surprised. I played it. I had higher hopes for it. And I mean, I love their scenario books. The way that their units are, I don't mind a 1 to 5th scale game. I think it downplays infantry a little bit too much for my taste, but you know, I think it's a poorer version of Command Decision. That's just my personal take on it. I've never been a fan of D6 games. I don't know how I put up with it for 18 years. I guess because it worked, but I see lots of stuff that gets painted on put on different boards, and a lot of people are playing rapid fire. I'm just not very. It's just not very in depth. It's not my thing. I can see why chain of command is popular. That's a lot better for me. You know, chain of command, I've said it would be the game that I would be playing if I, you know, if this that I play hadn't come out. I'd probably be playing chain of command and modifying it. I've gotten to the point now that I'm not going to put up with stuff that doesn't make any sense for the sake of the game. So if something doesn't make sense, I'm going to change. Well, you're not really playing the game the way it is. That's fine. I'll call it something different. You know, I got a name for it anyways. I'll play something different. But playing some game that hasn't been properly play tested, or you know, could be improved upon, especially when I don't have an agenda. It's not like, well, we got to make these whatevers better than everybody else. That's not the agenda. The agenda is let's make it a more realistic game. You know, it was popular in the 1990s. It seemed to have made a comeback thanks to Reloaded. Never could get to it, and some of my group did. Yeah, I don't like to use, you know, this 76 millimeter gun is an E-class penetration. I mean, just like, what? You're dumbing things down. But that's fine, you know, it's just not my... A lot of people couldn't understand why I played DBA. It's too boring. Okay, well, I can see your point, but it worked at the time. There is a Chain of Command 2 being developed by the moment, which was playtesting it at Eberlard Games Day last week. Is he an alright guy? He seems alright on the videos. Big dude. Right? He's over 6 foot. A large lad. I've seen him in lots of videos. I seem to like him. Not a big fan of some of the people that he plays some of the games with. They seem shifty. But man, those videos, they move. I mean, they play a whole battle in like an hour. That's like pretty freaking good. I wish the battle had a little bit more detail, but that's like extremely fast. That's extremely fast. Yeah, I don't want to play with shifty people. I'd rather not play a game than have to. I'm just getting to the point now with all the bullshit I have to put up with. If somebody's gonna be shifty, I'm just gonna call them out. I'm just gonna call them out. Look, you're fucking cheating there. If that hurts your feelings, well, maybe you shouldn't be a cheater. And I don't mean the people that I regularly play with. That does not apply to any of the people over at Mitch's shack. That wasn't the case there. But I've gone to shows and I'm not dealing with that kind of nonsense. I don't deal with dishonorable gameplay. don't care if it hurts somebody's feelings. Maybe somebody should have stood up to you 20 years ago when you started doing this nonsense and you didn't turn into this monster of used to get in your way with, cheating. Gonna be my new reputation. Don't play with Tony. Why? He calls out cheaters. Well, don't be a fucking cheater. I tend to be a fan of percentage dice. Yes, my man. Me too. And the rule that used them. My mate developed a set of rules using percentile even before we had percentile dice. He worked out percentages based on D6s and tabulated them. I just don't like the bell curve on the D6. It's hard to, that a +1 doesn't always have the same strength. It's a lot stronger when it's applied to a base, when you're a 7 as opposed to if you're like a 9. It kind of skews everything. Yeah, I like percentile. It makes sense, I grew up playing Sea Creek 4, so that's all percentile. So percentile's in my blood. Yeah, I kind of like that. His helmet doesn't look awfully American. It looks a little comunista, a little bit. We'll paint the same color my American helmets and it should be fine. I still didn't use that, the brown violet for him. I ended up using the new olive drab color, whatever it's called. The new 889, 887 US olive drab. I'm pretty happy with that. Is it this one? Nope, it's close. It's close to that one. It's really close to that one. That would work at a pinch too. Not refractive green. I'm going to do some airbrushing this weekend. I got to get in a better mood. I need a drink this weekend. I did not have a very good work day yesterday. Nothing really went south, but they kind of threw I don't want to talk about work in detail, but they kind of threw a curveball where it's going to make it even harder to take vacation. And it's already too fucking hard to take vacation. I'm ready to fucking revolt. Like, I get very few days off a year. Very few days off. I've been maxed out on days off for 10 years now. And I can't even use them all because it's such a fucking pain in the ass to leave. I got nobody to cover for me, so I'm really bummed. And it's really kind of bringing me down. It's bringing me down to the point where I really don't want to game with people that have a lot of days off because it kind of puts me in a bad mood that I'm doing all this work to put this game on, and I'm overworked. I don't have a lot of time off, and somebody that's not doing anything at all is basically not doing anything, and I have to cater to their schedule. So to be honest with you, that's a big reason that I don't get together with Mitch, and it's nothing personal. I mean, he's awesome. He's always positive, but he has so much fucking time off, and it's like, I don't really want to cater to your easy schedule. He said, "Man, my job is easy." Well, go play with people that have it easy. I pack everything up, go all the way over there, kill my night's sleep for the week, and work is just fucking killing me. And it seems like it's worse and worse every day. So, is this the color that we were using? 887. Yeah. US solid green. So that's probably the biggest reason I don't go over there. It's just too fucking hot this time of year. So if we're gonna game here, where I'm doing all the freaking work, and it'll be whenever it works for me. But going through all that exhaustion, just, it was really getting to me. And it seems like every year it's worse and worse. And I'm not one that's like, man, uh, improving my title. I'm not a, as somebody would put, I heard them say, a feather seeker. Like, I got enough challenges as it is at work, and they keep moving the football. So, for the first time this convention's coming up, and I'm almost didn't want to go. I almost like, it's just not worth it, you know? So. Met Rich a couple times at Claymore. Larger than life. I'd get on with him. Get on with him. Yeah. Yeah, I just got tired of doing all the heavy lifting, putting on all the games, and people didn't show up to play them. And I don't mean Mitch. He's, you know, he's that's not him. But everybody else. I mean, you can't have a game with two people, you know. Like, so why am I like not doing World War II stuff and stuff that I want to do? Because I don't have time to do both, for the sake of people that are going to show up and never do, because they come up with excuses, that I couldn't tell you how many times people would be like, man, I'm really interested in playing DBA, and I'm in the area where the convention is. I'll come over. And they never show up. And I'm like, so why am I doing all this heavy lifting for people that aren't going to do their part? It was just time to move on. It was just time to move on. And I have no regrets. Other than I probably should have done it sooner. But that's not really a regret. It's not like I didn't enjoy the games or anything. The games are fine, Okay, so I think we've been pretty happy with this gray-green. And hopefully it's not too colored to the shirt. I may even change the shirt color. The shirt's looking a little bit too like the Marines, but we're gonna let it stay. I don't mind having a little different shades of different stuff. There's a long time ago, I heard this story of this one guy that was running the Ohio DBA group, and not really the same story of mine, but he basically was putting on all the games and he didn't play. That's unacceptable. Not putting everything on and not playing is just like, I'm not interested in doing that. He'd put everything on and donate all the prizes out of his own money and not get to play. And he was like the only guy that was doing the lifting, and eventually Ohio DBA just dried up completely. Because people would show up to play, but they didn't want to contribute anything. Or maybe they even showed up to play, But people know nomadic. You got to do what you want to do and screw everybody else, That's, not to say screw everybody else, but you got to do what you want to do. And, you could have, like, the thing you want to do more than anybody else, but if nobody shows up to play it, they're just basically holding yourself hostage for an audience that's not interested. So. And last convention we had, it was like a huge resurgence of people that were going to. The people that hadn't played Ancients and Medieval, that I hadn't played a game with in decades? No, well, yeah, maybe a decade. I hadn't played DBA with them in a decade, and all of a sudden they jumped ship and we're going to play Art de la Guerre. Oh, good for them. Good for them, And I'm like, in 5 years, those people aren't going to be playing. Because that's how those people are. They're not going to be playing Art de la Guerre in 5 years. Well, that was the last convention, which it's twice a year. They haven't even listed any Art de la Guerre events for this convention. So, which, man, I wasn't expecting it to be. I wasn't expecting to have that kind of predictive powers, but that's a bit extreme, but and it's one thing to have that kind of a drop off from like from nothing to everything, but and it's not like we didn't give it a chance. It's not like, well, you only played it for 5 years. Man, fucking 18 years, man. And actually, the cool thing about it, I met some really neat people, and I developed my painting skills probably in areas I probably would not have done if I would have just stuck to World War II. So, um, and I had a hard time deciding what I was going to play for this convention. I'm not playing any World War II stuff because I want to play this, or I don't want to play any World War II. It just doesn't have the detail that I think it's worth my trouble, you know. So. You know, if you want to play something I'm not interested in, that's fine. Just go ahead and play it. I'm not keeping you from doing it. Just don't get me involved in it. I ended up going to conventions, and the thing I enjoyed more than anything else is just talking to people. You know, I'm not even playing a game with them. Okay, we may end up adding a little bit of green to some of these packs just so it can stand out from the shirt color a little bit more. We'll see how that goes. I'm going to go ahead and do the little ammo pouches here. Underneath the shirt. You know, I'm not filming any battles because I'm not playing any battles. But when I'm playing battles, they'll be filmed because I enjoy doing the filming, even though it's well, the live stuff isn't a pain in the ass. That's why I do that. The other stuff is a major pain in the ass, and not because you have to edit it, but you have to watch the whole thing, and then you have to pray to all the gods to make sure it gets uploaded correctly. You don't have to start all over. We're going to look like when we highlight this to the next level. We're fine. There's enough contrast there. It's all about contrast. This will pop off enough of away from the shirt. We'll make this pouch a little bit more. Green there, make it. All right, we got this pack. No, we need to add a. Well, maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. Because the stuff on the U.S. soldiers is really boring looking colors. I'm sure that's why some people don't like doing historicals. Oh, I gotta paint this certain colors. Well, you don't have to, but looks a lot better if you do. Where were we here? Yep. Okay. Not very much green, but it's just a slightly different. Just a slightly different color. There he is. '07. Whatever that means. That's not some kind of white power symbol, is it? tightening problem, well, there aren't any. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Let's bring this up a tiny little bit. A little bit more than that in certain little places. I got some other resistance fighters to paint. Maybe I could make one of a Francois. The problem with Francois is Francois just doesn't hit me as a badass name. I've got nothing against the French. I'm just saying that I bet I have a Francois already printed out. I don't know. Oh, it's head saluting. Oh, okay, perfect. It's not. Well, that tells you how much I know about those emojis. You're right. Now I see it. Thank you. What if it's an American salute? What if you wanted to do like a, where am I? What if you wanted to do a British open palm salute? Stop! Stop! Now, see, I won't ask you that again. Now, once I know what it is, I'm like, okay, cool. Oh, speaking of white power symbols that are just made up, it's the OK symbol. Everything's okay. And his light is just, he's not working too well. Just giving me issues that I never have. I'm gonna get this left. Too bright. Too bright. That's more like it. That's good. Maybe a little bit more there. Okay, these guys got, we have a scabbard for his bayonet. Let me see if they're probably the same material. I need to change it a little bit just so it stands out. So it doesn't look like, oh, this guy painted him and he only had 2 colors. Even though a lot of this stuff is. That's how the U.S. won the war. You make everything in the same color, right? We make one tank, Shermans, that's it. If you don't like Shermans, go fly a kite. Yeah, it's going to be the same color as the little packs that the end block clips fit into. Ooh, this guy's got a no-no, man. He's gripping that 1911 like that. And he's got the finger on the trigger. And the hammer's pulled back. You don't get somebody shot, dumbass. That's a no-no, man. Get your finger off the trigger, asshole. I don't care if it's a toy gun or a fake gun. That's how people get hurt. We'll go to those rides like at Universal and stuff like that, and they have like a Men in Black or whatever. You got like a fake gun, basically, like laser targeting. And I could probably make it a tiny bit yellow. Yeah, let me do that. Just make it pop a little bit. And yeah, you keep your hand out of that trigger thing. And once you do that, you start training muscle memory. It's natural. Blank, you think it would be British version. It's a blockhead with a free hand gesture. Oh, man. I'm not going to go there. Are the British fruity now? They didn't used to be. Not where I grew up. Everybody's fruity these days. Let's get this ochre color. We're going to need it out here to do his leggings. I'm pretty happy with using that as a legging base colors we're working out for him. Everybody's fruity now. Now, we're going to do the leggings. I don't think we need to go any darker than, say, like that. Well, they gave up their guns. Oh. And not everybody feels the same way that's over there. You know, like I went to Canada. When I went to Canada, I had a really good, the part that I went to Canada, I freaking love Canada. Not enough to move there. I don't want to live in another country. I'm good living here. But I can't wait to go to Canada. And there was a lot of like non-fruity people I encountered in Canada. You know, like one guy who was he was a snowmobile guide, and he was like, yeah, I got guns, but they can't find them and stuff like that. And like he's ex-Canadian military. I mean, like, why not? You know, I'm not saying, you know, there's some people that shouldn't have them, and they're just legitimately crazy fucking people, right? But you know, good folks that are head on straight. There's nothing wrong with it. It was never an issue. Never an issue when I grew up. I don't know what this, you know. I'll stop with not bullying people in school. When you bullied people in school, this shit didn't happen. Won't catch me on my knees when the king enters the room. Yeah, I don't like that whole bowings thing. Yeah, I don't like the whole, you know, title stuff. You know, there's people these days that are like, you know, I'm in search of a title. I'm going to be vice president or vice presidencies, and you know, like, I don't give a shit about that stuff, man. But you got to respect me because my title. I'm sorry, you didn't earn it, dude. I'm not respecting you for shit. You know. It's just the way I am. So yeah, I wouldn't be oh, it's Lord so and so. Go fly a kite up your ass, man. Oh, you gotta respect me. I got a lot of money. I don't care. You're a dick, you know. I'm not saying money's not important, but it's not. It's not a freaking god, you know. There's a lot of sorry people that are poor. There's a lot of rich people that are sorry. I'm sorry, but you know what I mean. It's not the defining thing. And just a tad little bit of white on here. Yeah, I don't really like that bowing thing. That's not. You know, a lot of it is just it's built into your psyche. It's built into your ethnicity or whatever you're used to doing. Like with my background, it's really natural for me to hug people when you greet them, like especially like women. It's just I don't mean anything rude by it. It's just what we're used to, and I'm not used to bowing to people. Like it's just like you know. So a lot of it is just cultural stuff, you know. Man, this guy looks pretty good. I'm like sitting there doing like, we're kind of more. It looks pretty. You know, there's something to be said. There's something to be said for painting a figure with relatively drab colors, and you gotta make them pop with enough contrast that it looks believable. You know, like if I'm like, you can paint this figure however you want. You know, if this is a fantasy figure, you'd never use these colors because they're too similar to each other, right? But it fucking works. It really does. And when you seal it, it looks even better. Now, this particular sculptor decided to put little shields on on some of the figures. So we got to paint those like their big red one, even though they could be whatever division. But that's what I've been doing. Let's take a photo of them and see what I'm talking about. Let's take a terrible photo of them. I'm not a good photo taker. It always looks different to me than. Now let's see if we can warm this up a little bit so it looks like what I'm seeing. All I do is put auto on. I don't screw with the figures a little too much. I'm just gonna put auto. Yeah, that's probably pretty accurate. Helmet's got more detail than all that's on there, but it's gonna have to believe me or not. Let's zoom in real big. We're not done with him yet. I'm really happy with that. I'm happy to have that guy on my team. Well, the problem with it is like who are you going to let do the permissions? That's really the issue, because people in government aren't competent. As long as there's somewhere you can live that has the most of the rules you like. Okay. Here. We didn't have those issues when I was a kid. I went to college not that long. Well, I guess it was that long ago. And people had shotguns and roof racks. I mean, not roof racks. That would be bad for the shotgun. In gun racks on the. I mean, I didn't. And shotguns aren't exciting to me, and nobody can mess with them. You know. It didn't even occur to me. So. I think that was back when people knew who their dad was, and they set a good example for them. Baby daddies hadn't been invented yet. I don't know. Sometimes you just feel like an outsider in your own country, you know. Man, I don't remember I don't remember things used to be like this. Not a whole lot of gunmetal showing on a Garand. Now, this one has the bayonet attached. Let's do this more of a two-step process. I know bayonets aren't normally bright, but hey, it's a wargaming figure. I like to pretend a little bit. Put my own spin on it. One thing always surprised me. I've never been in the military. I tried to join many years ago. They didn't want me for a silly reason, but that's fine. Probably worked out. Pretty amazing how heavy the M1 Garand. It's a great rifle. Other than the feed mechanisms, I'm not a fan of the feed mechanism. It is an awesome rifle. It is an awesome round. The sights on it are excellent. It's pretty heavy, but that's okay. I mean, you can that way you're not afraid of butting somebody in the freaking head with it and think it's going to fall apart. Is testosterone illegal now? I don't know. I went to a doctor's office a couple of years ago. Maybe it was 2 years ago, maybe it was a year and a half ago. And I used to live in a town that was extremely hippie. And I don't mean that like it's a good thing. And I go to this doctor's office, and I'm leaving it, and there's this lady that's coming up. And, you know, there's just stuff you do. Like, you hold the door open for somebody. Like, even if it's another dude, you just do it. And, like, you can tell that she got, like, upset. Like, fine, I'll kick you in the fucking head next time. And she's like, there's just some things that just, some people, now that's an extreme example, because most people wouldn't think that way, but, like, it's what you freaking do. Like, you go to some place like Alabama, and I don't mean, like anywhere in Alabama, and they know you're, like, fighting over, like, who's going to hold the door over for each other. It's just common courtesy, you know? I don't want to live in a place where those things just don't exist anymore. Like, what the hell happened, you know? And it's not making some woman less of a man. I'm just this thing you do, you know? Like, and I've said this before, man. This drives me, but like, nobody has to tell me this. Like you freaking know. You don't go to like, class of being a dude or a chauvinist or whatever, but it's like, you're walking down the street on the sidewalk, like the girl goes on the inside, right? Because like if something goes crazy, it's just built into our psyche, or it should be built into your psyche, you know. I'll go to the gas station, right? I frequently drive when we're together as a couple, frequently, because I'm a kind of a control freak. Not that my wife's not a good driver, but But on the occasions that I am the passenger and it's time to get gas, I like getting gas for her because women are a target at gas stations. There's undesirable types of gas stations. So I certainly when I've gone and I've seen this before, and I'm like shaking my head like, what's one of these days as I get older, I'm gonna say something to somebody, and I'm gonna call them out on being a sissy. This guy was sitting in the passenger seat, and he's sitting in the car while the lady is out pumping her own. And man, women can pump gas all they want, but I'm like on watch all the time. Like I get gas for my daughter and stuff. I don't have to, but I choose to. But I don't sit in the freaking car surfing on my phone while the lady is if they're getting gas. I mean, you just don't do. You just don't do that. Like, you need to be watching, man. That have psych degrees. I'm pretty amazed how having nobody has to tell you that stuff, man. And if you don't want to do it, that's fine. But old school people like me are going to look at you funny. Like we didn't have those problems when everybody was, I hate going to gas stations. You encounter, people that want to get in your shit, Pump gas for your ladies, man. If you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine. I'm just going to look at you weird. Nobody should have to tell you that. Maybe that's what happens when you don't know who your dad is. I don't know. Let's put a little bit of white on this. Make it. Speaking of ladies, I got some female snipers I should paint up, but we're not going to the Eastern Front just yet. We'll go to the Eastern Front when we can stay a while there. Actually, I got more partisan ladies than I do Eastern Front ones. I think a fifth of my partisan fighters are female. I think I looked it up. I'm like, that's about like the right percentage. You know, if you're worried about quotas and all that, which I'm not, but you know, kind of amusing. I'm going to use olive drab for this, even whether it's right or wrong. Lighten it up a little bit, just so you have a little bit of contrast here. It's going to be not even going to be noticeable with this olive drab. It's going to look more like gray. There we go. That's nice. And I'm not necessarily opposed to using this for the chin strap. Let's just modify it a little bit. Not like that. This guy's nearly done. That's what I like about painting one figure at a time. You have something to show for it in a relatively short amount of time. It may not work for some people, but it works for me. I remember when I was painting my Romans, I was painting all 8 stands of sandals, so it would be 32 sandals in a row. That was unsatisfactory. I mean, it turned out fine, but that was a struggle to find the motivation to keep going. This guy looks like a badass. That's what we want. We want these badasses to go stomp some Nazis. Now, let's go look at a patch of the big red one. I know it's like a greenish olive drab. We might have to brighten a little bit so it pops. Mental illness is going to be used as a cudgel to disarm America. Oh, he ran to a burning building to save a stranger's kids. That's crazy. Well, it's a good thing there's some crazy people doing it. I'm not going to do it. I mean, I'll go in for my family, but, you know, at some point, you know, my family needs me alive. You know, I'm glad there's people that do stuff like that. But we're not all made the same. Just like some people, you know, some people can't operate on people. I wouldn't be able to operate. Some people get lost. That's not me. I'm the opposite. I find shit, and I don't mean, you know, I know how to use Alexa and shit. I mean the Siri, and I don't have Siri, but Waze and stuff. No, I'll go somewhere and I put Waze up just for the anti-cop thing. Don't want to be passing somebody and there's an ambush right there. But I don't use it for directions. Let's see. Big red one. Big red one World War II patch. Yeah. I'm okay with it being this color. I don't want it to be like this. It's a little too dark. That's a little too dark. It's not going to pop enough. So let's do a images. It's going to be faded anyways. Alright, let's go ahead and we got a zillion greens that we don't use. Let's get us a green that we're happy with. I like this one. It's like Christmas. Leave the vaccine narrative. Oh, let's not talk about that period in history. I'm glad my dad didn't have to. Well, I'm not glad my dad passed away, but I'm glad he didn't have to put up with that ridiculousness. Yeah, I'm actually, I just don't like being told you have to get the vaccine. But once you got the vaccine, okay, you still have to wear a mask. I am anti fucking masks. I am. I don't want to interact with anybody. You wear a mask, I don't want to interact with you. It's just not. Even 20 years ago, when people were wearing masks over in Asia, I'm like, you guys are fucking slaves. Like, I want to see the person. Even 8 years ago, when people were out mowing lawn, you've seen these guys mowing lawn, right? Lawn service or whatever. And they'd be like cutting the median. And you'd have all these guys who are wearing the boonie hats and everything, and they'd wear this face mask that looks like, what are you playing, freaking Call of Duty? It's got like a skull and shit on it. Like, I don't want to. What are you hiding your face for? I just have a problem with it. Like, I don't want to interact with somebody whose face I can't see. And then they mumble, and I'm like, it's dehumanizing. So, if you got to put some vaccine, like I've got all my other vaccines, like I'm not anti-vaccine. I just like being told, hey, you got to do this. Well, why? You got to do this, and you got to do it by the people that don't know how to balance a checkbook. And then after you do it, it's still not good enough. You still have to put a mask on. Well, why get a vaccine if you got to put the mask on? It's for the children. Maybe some of those children grow up to be, Hitlers. Don't like jackboots terrorizing and eating out the substance of the citizenry? That's a little too green. That's a little too like the German color for the collar tab, which is a nice color, but that's not what I'm looking for. This one's good, I think. See, I hate the fucking masks. They're like, and I'm not one of those like, well, you gotta wear a mask in here. I'm going in there without one either. No, I obey the rules. I just like, they had a convention where one of our local conventions, they were like, the guy made a big deal out of like, you should wear a mask or whatever, and the mask and this, that, and the mask or whatever. And then come to find out it wasn't mandated, but it was like a couple of us were like, we're not going. Fuck them. I don't need a game that badly to not interact with people face to face. So I actually dislike the masks, and this is an extreme view, more than the communists. I like communists more than the mask. The mask is horrendous. So this was the right green, wasn't it? I got carried away. Got me all fired up with a mask. God damn it. It's dehumanizing. Let's brighten this up just a wee tad. There we go. Luckily, I don't work in a place that. And the other thing is I'm also skewed because I work in an industry where you have to wear PPE at certain times. So I'm not going to volunteer for more PPE. So. Unnecessary PPE, just because. Alright, let's put a little. I think we can do this straight. I don't think I need to put black underneath it. Let's see how it turns out. Be calm. Don't think about the mask, people. That works. That works. Now, do you want to mess with this shirt anymore? Like, fuck with the folds. Well, I gotta remember what color I used. Which is US Field Drab. And he's got a really faded shirt. And that's okay. It's Field Drab with black. And then we lighten that up. And we ended up lightening it up a little too much, but that's okay. You know, if you look like at like a bunch of, like a stack of like German uniforms, I know it's a bad example because he's not German, but there's all kinds of different color variations. And I'm sure that was the same case in the U.S., especially if I don't know who does his laundry, but I would imagine like if he goes through like a mud hole or something like that, I mean, it's, you know, and he watches it, stuff's gonna get stained. So this guy just happens to have a darker stained shirt. Shit happens. We don't care. He still wants to kill Nazis, so that works. I think we can get close to where this is. Man, I put a lot of white in this. I must have been tired last night. I was. We got there, but man, this is like a freaking light gray. Who am I kidding? This is going to look great when I'm done with them. I don't have self-confidence in everything, but when it comes to paint and shit, yep. I've been around the block a few times. I know what'll work when I'm done with it. Let's just stay away from the straps. So the straps are light colored too. I want to give it some contrast. I think we're good with this guy. Now we just got to decide what his freaking Italian name's going to be. And we got to let him dry a little bit. Got a bunch of generic Anglo names, and we got an Italian and a Polak. Do they get along? Over an adult beverage, they do, or maybe they could fight. I don't know anybody who fights when they drink. Want to kill Nazis? That's crazy. Should have just let the Nazis and the commies duke it out. I'm gonna get a flamethrower, I think I have an American flamethrower guy, I'm pretty sure. Or my bazooka guy, my Zook guy. He's gonna be Murphy. When shit goes wrong, it's Murphy. What do we got here? Esposito. Let's make him Esposito. It's funny because Esposito always looks to me like a Latin name, which, you know, it's Italian, so technically it's Latin, you know what I mean. Esposito? Is he not Esposito? What's he look like? You're talking about it being D'Angelo. Let's make him D'Angelo. That's what we talked about before. D'Angelo. Send him in. Looks like a badass. What was the name of that character in Saving Private Ryan that was stuck on the chair, on the stairs, the translator? You can't mention him to my daughter. She'll get irate. Okay. D'Angelo. I don't think I've used this for anything. And let's go ahead and glue this down. Was he a corporal? Or was he a tech? That guy's terrible. I totally understand. I mention this all the time. I totally understand being worried about dying. I get it. Everybody would be. And I understand maybe like wanting to keep a low profile, not wanting to shoot somebody. But your back is against the fucking wall. These guys are 3 feet away, and your buddies, maybe they weren't his buddies, maybe he hated everybody he was attached to, but your buddies are basically in close combat, getting murdered by frickin' the enemy, and you have a rifle in your hand and you're not going to use it. I would have shot, regardless of whether or not it was a pussy or freaking out or whatever. I'm certainly not. I certainly wouldn't freeze and have the guy like a foot from me. And I also didn't think it was realistic that the freaking SS guy wouldn't do anything with him. Like, he's not worth it. Well, what if he shoots you in the freaking back, man? So that whole interchange of that movie was just ridiculous. You know, it's one of the few problems I have with that movie, but I showed that to my daughter. She was irate. Good. And I'm sure that may have happened in real life, but it's pretty hard to believe. You know, it's pretty hard to believe that was a frequent occurrence. You know, it's different if you do not have a rifle in your hand. But you drive a freaking rifle and, you know, they're coming to you. You know? It's one thing to not be a violent person, but when people are like breaking into your home armed and you have a weapon, you know, it's that type of a situation. It's like, I'm a pacifist every freaking day, you know, but okay, so that needs to cure a little bit. That's going to be D'Angelo. And he's going to have to get sealed before we do anything else. Kowalski needs some scrubbage on him. Leftover grass thingies. He's kind of drab. I'm going to grab one of these Australian tufts that are a little bit brighter. Add some color to that. Oh, here's where my spares are. Australian tufts. I don't know what they use to stick them on, but man, they are really effective. I don't remember if I have one of those or not. I think we've got enough to. I've been happier with the tufts on them than just putting the grass. Now where is a good spot that this one can fit in here? Let's put it right. Let's put it right here. The only ones that'll stick without putting Elmer's down. And we're going to put that one over here and we'll call it a day. And this one. On this figure. So one thing that really surprises me about the military, maybe it doesn't to you, but it surprises to me. You should run defending your family. That's crazy. Absolutely, that's crazy. I guess I'm a crazy person. Wait, no, that's not what. If you don't stand up for your family, that's not what I meant to say. If you don't stand up for your family, who's going to stand up for your family? Your government? You funny guy. No, what surprised me about the military is you guys get issued weapons, right? When you go over to the sandbox, wherever you are. And, like, you have to turn those in. Like, I would think that, you know, you get issued a sidearm and that's yours. It's yours to take care of it. Like, I want to do that. Like, I have trust issues. Like, you know, I don't have a problem cleaning guns. You know, like, so you got to give it to somebody else who probably won't take as good a care of it. I don't know. That's weird. That's really weird. Oh, the armorer does it. That's weird, man. As an outsider. That's rather odd. Okay, Kowalski, ready to lob this thing. Now we have a guy with a rifle grenade, so we can use that in the game. Okay. And we can add him to all my other... No. We got to do a photo op with him later today. He stays up here. But we do need to... Oops. Let's not destroy our figures. I really like my Americans because they're drab. But that's okay. I mean, you know, that's what they're supposed to look like. Not all the time, but they're drabby, certainly. All right, we're going to let him dry before we do anything else. Now, go Hayes. We painted some guys here, including this, to figure out what kind of an officer we want to make this guy. He's got a sidearm. He's got a 1911. He's got an M1 carbine. And normally if he was an officer, I'd put the little thing. They didn't always do that, but I got a lieutenant that's got the little stripe on the back of his helmet. He's wearing one of those covers, helmet covers, that if it was under there, you wouldn't be able to tell what it was. So maybe that's a good thing, because I don't have to decide what he's going to be right at this moment. And that's probably a good thing. All right, I got to use the little boy's room. I'll be right back in a moment. Start working on whoever this guy is. Uh-oh. I didn't like the sound of that. Or that I felt like a crack in there. We wouldn't want to paint this guy if this barrel ends up breaking, and then I'm stuck with a guy with no. Although I could probably drill that out, but I wouldn't be able to put the little sight. There's like a tiny little sight on there. Let's just be careful with that. How about that? Do we want to do him next? This guy's really cool. Even though he's on his knees. Actually, he looks like a guy that would go with a bazooka. Because he's got his hand on him like. Does that even work? Kind of. Even though they're not the same manufacturer. The bazooka helper is this guy. Who's standing out with he's got a rocket in his hand. He's got a carbine. Yeah, some of these faces are really, really good. They paint themselves. Let's do the officer. Let's do this officer, and we're going to make his pants look we're going to use a different base. We're going to use this beige brown as a pant base color instead of the one that we normally use. They're very similar. I'm mixing them with black and lightening them up, so you can't. I don't buy the whole, it's English uniform, paint the whole figure in English uniform, all the same shit. Like, no, you gotta do some little variations in it. Beige brown. Yeah, it's like damn near the same color. It's the same but different. We still have some of this El Cheapo black. Let's see if we can add some life to this. Yep, we're good. All right. Let's get this ring out of the way here. I'm going to paint all his pants this color. Yeah, if the Garand had like a 15 round magazine, that'd be fucking awesome. That would be awesome. But that 8 round thingy, not a fan. But then there's the way you have to load a Mauser is even worse, and a Mauser and an Enfield they're even worse, and a Mosin, same thing. So, the N block is better than any of those other ones. So, it just hadn't come to maturity yet, Stuff that makes you crazy. Well, everybody's trying to save the world and be environmentally conscious and all that stuff. How about like coordinating traffic lights so people aren't waiting at them longer than they're supposed to? Like, that's a simple thing to do. Like, you can go to Mars, but you can't like coordinate traffic lights. I mean, sure, they don't like at least get them freaking close. That's good for your sanity. It's you're not wasting gas. I mean, nobody goes out there and goes, I want to waste extra gas. Nobody does that. I don't like wasting stuff, even though it's, I say it all the time. Why be wasteful? It's dumb. It's dumb to be wasteful. I went to St. Petersburg a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know how people deal with just getting up enough momentum to stop. Like it drives you crazy, you know. And I didn't grow up at a podunk place, but man, the traffic in some of those places is just insane. Serve your country in a combat zone, can't have access to your own children until you can prove your sanity. Well, maybe they shouldn't have people that are in a combat zone do the ridiculous things that they expect them to do in a combat zone. You know, you guys go through a ton of shit. Like I'm surprised. You know, I've said it before. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a badass, but I'm just saying if I ended up serving and I could get over the fact that I could be killed at any moment, I'd be guilty of war crimes. There's no doubt about it. Or what's normally perceived as war crimes. Like you go and take it. You know, these guys want to surrender at the last minute after they butchered all your own guys. Like, sorry, there were no prisoners. I'm just telling you. I mean, I can totally see that being a pretty reasonable reaction. You know, you can't bond with your people to that level where your life depends on them. You share a foxhole with them and be deprived of all these human things, and then all of a sudden, you know, these guys that are actively trying to kill you just give up at the last minute. I totally understand where blood rage would happen in that situation. You know, I also understand where you would be like, man, I'm scared as shit. Let me keep it low. You know, like what's the guy's God? What's the name of that actor? The guy was in Scrubs. That was in Dr. Cox. That was in Scrubs. That was in Platoon, where he's like, the guy overrun and he like put a body over himself. Hey, he survived. You know, but he didn't cower. I think he like fought until it was like, oh shit, we're being overrun. I got a bad feeling about this, Sarge. You know. So, my hat's off to veterans, man. They get put. They're in a bad situation. You know, you guys do all kinds of stuff that's, I think, unreasonable. And then they go and, you know, you guys do all that sacrifice, and then they end up giving the country back to the same fucking people that they went in there to begin with. Like, well, if that's what we're going to do, then we don't need to be in wars, you know? Absolutely not. We'll just stay back here and put the bayonets on and wait for you fuckers to invade us, you know? Because that's just unreasonable. So. I take it you couldn't watch that show, The Terminal List? I started watching, I'm like getting so fucking angry. I'm getting so angry watching this. I'm like, and I didn't even serve. You know, I'm like, I can't watch this. I don't need to be that angry watching television. I lived in a neighborhood of probably 100 houses. Maybe it's more than 100 houses. But we'll just use 100 because it gets the point across. And of those 100 houses are maybe 4 that have flagpoles up. And in this neighborhood, we moved here and like 70% of them had a flagpole up. Like the first thing I bought an American flag, you know, a good one. I make sure it was made in China. And it's not like, oh, well, you're over patriotic. I'm like, it's the idea of what this country supposedly stands for. Whether that's, you know, a fallacy that we all live in or whatever, but it's just the idea. That's what I grew up in, you know. You did the Pledge of Allegiance, and you weren't going to didn't mean you were gonna freaking die for the country because it's run by a bunch of corrupt fucks, which it is. But you know, it's this idea of what this country could be. You know, and it didn't offend you. You did the Pledge of Allegiance, and you weren't going to sell out to some corporation from another freaking country. You know, it's just stuff you did. You wouldn't serve if you lost access to your kids and rights. You did nothing wrong. Serve the honor guard. You're proud members. So it doesn't matter. All it takes X to claim you're crazy. Uncle Sam's having trouble understanding why there are recruitment shortages. Good. We shouldn't be involved in other places where we're not wanted. You know? Go back to fighting how Patton did, you know? That's the last time we were winning wars, when you did things like Patton. Hey, all the Germans in their cathedral. Oh well, we gotta destroy the fucking cathedral. They helped us out by all being there. You know? Ah, enough of that. Back to World War II. So the fact that this guy doesn't have any rank on him, I'm just going to leave him without rank because I can make him whatever I need him to be in this scenario. So he's a pretty cool figure. So. Probably one of the few World War II weapons that, M1 carbine, that if you had to fire a World War II weapon without your protection, that's probably the one I would choose. Because it's, if I remember correctly, it's almost like a pistol's louder than it. It's not a very loud weapon. It doesn't kick at all. You know, basically using as an alternative to having a 1911, which I'd rather have that than 1911 is, you know, just fine, but it just doesn't have the, you know, you only got, even if the round goes far, you still only have this much space to, you know, aim, and the sights on it are not very good. You dare challenge a homeowners? Now, what homeowners association has an anti-flag thing? Not here. That's ridiculous. Actually, I have a whole stack of flags that I could get some really interesting looks with the neighbors if I put them up. But then again, you know, like I've said before, it's your intent is more important than what you plan on doing. We had a hurricane-ish that came close to us, and when the winds died down, actually before that, I took the flag down. I mean, we took the whole flagpole down, actually. It's actually surprising how light it is. I feel like it's made out of aluminum, but it came with a house, so I feel like it's made out of aluminum, but it's, maybe it's PVC. Anyways, it's really well made. But, you know, it's like, well, we got to take that down, take the flag down and everything. I noticed that the flag was frayed a little bit. A very little bit. But enough that I wanted to get another one. And, you know, I don't put a whole lot of importance on, let me word this differently. I don't think that a flag is holy. In other words, it is just a piece of cloth, but it's what you intend on doing with it. You know, do disrespectful shit to it. Okay, so I don't really want to. I'm holding on to it. I'm not going to send it somewhere to be disposed because I'm concerned that it could get into the wrong hands. I don't know. It just part of it just like I don't feel right. I know you're supposed to bring. We're gonna hold on to it. It doesn't hurt anything holding on to it. So, but my daughter, when we were putting it up for the first time, said, "Well, what's the deal about it touching the ground?" I said, "Well, you don't. What's the official rule and what's my rule? My rule is if you don't intend on doing something disrespectful, and it happens, it's not like it's a freaking holy relic or a saint. Just be freaking respectful to it and be careful." And nothing happened, but just use freaking common sense, man. Is that still a thing anymore? No. But I have a whole stack, I probably have 15 or 16 3x5 flags. And they're all World War II flags. So, there's some flags you don't want to fly for a flagpole. But that's what I used to use in my decoration in my room. My wargaming room had all the World War II flags up on the wall. Instead of posters, that's what they had on. So we got all the good guys, and we got the bad guys too. And again, it's not an issue because it's the intent. Like if you only have certain bad guy flags up, probably not a good sign. But if they're all there, just like I don't think it should be illegal to wear a shirt that, has some German unit on it, like a t-shirt if you're playing Flames of War. I'm not going to do it. It sends the wrong message, Maybe you have one for a shirt with a big red one and the 101st Airborne and Desert Rats and, But somebody only saw you when you're wearing a Hitlerjugend. That's not a good sign. Not a good look for you. So we'll leave that on the tabletop, and we're not going to dress up like the bad guys. It's different if you're in a movie or something like that, but you're wearing stuff like that. It's just going to show, that to somebody that's educated, it's just going to show that you're uneducated or worse. So. But you can do whatever you want. This guy did a walkthrough video several years ago. Like I think it was the year that I went to StoreCon. I did a walkthrough video of all the vendors, and I really enjoyed doing that actually. This one guy did a view afterwards, and he really pussied out about the whole thing. Oh, this guy shouldn't have these offensive shirts, and okay, they weren't offensive. You just didn't like their point of view, and if they would have had a bunch of commie shit, you would have been fine with that. You're just not being consistent. Either let everything in or nothing in. So, but he's one of these new generation of people that I don't know, didn't have a good role model. Weren't enough rainbow flag shirts for him, which is fine. I don't have a problem people have rainbow flags, but have different stuff too. Other people are allowed to have opinions too, not just what you agree with. It's interesting how this. I guess I never realized that I had this color. I don't remember what color I used to use for my U.S. pants, but they definitely had some. I could use this for the British uniform also. Had some variations in here. And depending on when you start adding the positive colors, like the white and stuff like that, you can vary things quite a bit. All right, and then we're going to use, been pretty happy with the khaki color. The color called khaki for the 1941 jacket. The members only jacket. That sort of reminds me of. I didn't realize it was such a pain in the ass to have medicine on auto refill. They're incessant. And I'd call them and say, hey, put that back on the shelf, but they don't answer the damn phone. I'm like, I got plenty of it. I'm not going to go in and get more. Guess who doesn't get a psych degree? Mainly men who are busy defending the country. Maybe people get psych degrees or just have bad upbringings and want to make it say, man, I got to see a bunch of crazy people to make myself look more normal. Oh no, we got Elmers. We got live Elmers there. I don't know. I don't have any experiences with psychologists, psychos. At this point, anything is better than more litigious people. We don't need more lawyers. Please, for the love of God, stop it already. I mean, if it wasn't for attorneys, nobody would be buying freaking signs on freaking billboards. At least around here, man, it is just nothing but, so and so got me this much money. So and so got me this much. Like it's some kind of lottery or something like that. They're a treasure hunter. So and so found me this. I see a little strip there. Is that part of the jacket? Damn it. I got live paint on. Yeah, I bet that's for a good cause. I don't want to not do that. Let's see if that jacket has a little fold on the end. I don't think that it did, but doesn't look like it to me. Maybe he's got a different jacket on. Maybe it's an M43. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a little fold at the end of it. It does have a little button there. I wonder where that button's. You spend a lot of time on the phone. And literally, my thought, I'm looking at this picture. And I'm like, oh, let me make it bigger. And I almost did this to the book. Wow. I need a drink. Yeah, they got like a little snap. They got like a little brass snap there. I never noticed that before. Very interesting. Okay, let's look at the 43 jacket. Does the 43 jacket have the little... Yeah, the 43 jacket does. But could this be a 43 jacket? I'm not opposed to giving him a 43 jacket. I think the sculptor just fucked up. To be honest with you. I think he just fucked up. Okay, that folds all the way up. Okay. I really enjoy this part of the hobby. This some people would say it's too anal retentive, whatever. I like it. Oh, the 43 jacket has loops here. Interesting. Dost thou have loops? You do not. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to paint it like we were planning on painting it. And I didn't realize that's a good way to tell them apart. Assuming that the guy did it. Do they always have that? I don't know. Oh, the 43 has the loops too. Well,
fuck. All right, throw everything out the window. Yeah, it makes sense to have those because then you could put like your equipment through it and they're not sliding off your shoulder. All right, well, that was a fun dive into something to solve any issues. The 43 is longer. Is that one longer? I think it is. But he just has a short torso and it rides longer on it. I'm going to paint it like it's 41. Even though the 43 looks better, but that's not the point. Spending too much time on iPad on the phone. I can figure. Yeah, I know. No, I don't have any of those Apple products. But that's cool. I didn't notice that. They have on the jacket. They have a little like brass button here that I guess you could button on to something else. It's all about learning, man. For me, anyways. Okay, we got a khaki here. And, you know, this is enjoyable because I don't have to have this done by a certain time, you know. It's like, oh, we got to have these guys ready by June 6th so the invasion can't go on. Like, nope. Let's enjoy the journey. Spend 5 hours researching my night heraldry for the project I'm doing. Probably the most enjoyable last 100 hours I've put into this project. I love nights. I love heraldry. I love heraldry. Now, I don't know what your name is, but if you have shitty personal heraldry, which I do not, mine's badass. But if you have shitty heraldry, maybe you don't like doing heraldry. Like, you know, if your heraldry is some guy, you know, bent over with a blowing horn out of his ass, you're like, probably, I don't want to do heraldry a whole lot, you know, but that's the one of the things I enjoyed the most about doing medieval stuff is looking into it. And I didn't get to do one. I got to do a lot of them. And guys that, you know, like, do you want kind of a snapshot of you know, if you got to do, I would never buy in like, okay, I'm going to make a generic medieval army. No, I mean, if you're going to do a French one, you got to do an English one. They got to be different. You know, and at least they got to look different on the tabletop because if they face each other, you got to be able to tell which one's which one. You know, I know sometimes it was like a mixed bag, but that's the fun in it is making them look individually, individually what they are, and I really enjoyed that. There's a lot of really interesting information on that. But I know lots of people that don't know what their personal heraldry looks like. You know, and they're not like Japanese or Asian or something like that where, you know, they didn't use that. I'm just saying, you know, people that would normally would have and they don't know. Well, I've never looked into that. How can you not looked into that? I don't know. Maybe I always grew up, we always had one in the house. You know, it's my dad's fault. Good. But that's only like a Western European thing, because even something like the Russians don't have the same thing. Yeah, and there's just like, you look in heraldry, there's just things that just look wrong to you that you don't even notice. Like,
We're watching the Olympics or something like that. No, it wasn't the Olympic. Maybe it was the Olympics because Russia wasn't in it. But you know, you take like the modern Russian flag, which is, you know, they should have stuck with the whole St. Andrews thing like they used to have. But anyways, um, you look at it, it's like that doesn't look right. Why? I said, well, the two dark colors are touching each other. And what do you mean? I said, well, if you have blue and you have red, they're never next to each other. In Western heraldry, they're never next to each other. You got to have yellow or white between them. You got to separate them. Now, if you get into like Russia and stuff like that, yeah, they have colors that touch in their shields and stuff. Not all the time, but it happens occasionally. You know, so you look at something that's like those two colors are touching like on a flag, and it looks weird to my eye. I'm just used to like something's off, and like, what's oh yeah, those two colors are touching. You know, you got to have a metal color. You know, because white's supposed to signify silver and yellow's supposed to signify gold. There's got to be a divider between the other colors. And just I've looked at heraldry so much that that's like built into me. Other people think I'm crazy, but you know, we're all crazy. Hey, that's my thing, you know. I don't know who the hell made those rules, but them's the rules. Yeah. Red and green don't touch each other. You know, red only touches white, and any of those colors. They only touch white or yellow. They gotta like keep them apart. If they do, well, then it's just a background of a nation or a clan or whatever that didn't really adhere to those type of things. And it's common in Spain, France, England, Low Countries, Germany, Poland, and to an extent Hungary. You get past Poland and, you know, all bets are off. All right, let's add a little bit of this. Let's see how. There we go. So when you use a bigger brush and you're doing this kind of painting thing, it's actually helpful because you're not. When you use a smaller brush, you tend to like want to put like all these little wrinkles in places that you can't have a completely wrinkled jacket every. I mean, you could, but you can have wrinkles in certain areas. In some areas, there's not going to be as many, and this keeps you from putting a bunch of little wrinkles everywhere. It ends up looking odd, you know. Two things to know about a psych degree. Two things. You've had a bad experience with psych degree people. Or I've had no experience, so I don't know. Common sense seems like madness to someone with Down syndrome. We train chimps to be astronauts. Getting a psych degree doesn't make a person intelligent. Understand genius. Some people just want to get degrees on top of degrees on top of degrees on top of degrees on top of degrees. I've heard people that just keep going back to school, like they don't know how to function in a real workplace. I'm like, well, just give me enough school to freaking like get the door open, and I'll work the rest of it being in the workplace. As soon as I catch word that something's fucking busy work, I'm not interested in doing it. Like, oh yeah. This guy's got a good pose too. It's not like he's gonna sit back and. Looks like a lead from the front guy. That's what you want in war games. You want lead from the front soldiers. You don't want guys who are like, oh, and just sit back and think about the theory of. Fuck that. We're here to, make stuff happen.
You had a lot of experience with him.
I've had no experience with them, or lawyers either. Thank you. Or like going to a courtroom, man. A couple times I've gone to jury duty, man. That's an unpleasant freaking place, man. You get treated like a freaking criminal. I'm like, dude, I'm here at your behest. Did I use that word properly? I probably shouldn't use words I'm not used to using. Anyways, you asked me to be here. I was perfectly fine not being here kicking ass for the economy. But I can't stand going into a courtroom. It feels dirty. A little bit more white. Almost done with this jacket. I can tell I'm gonna be really happy with this guy. That's good.
I got a real positive attitude when it comes to paint and stuff. Like, yeah, I can do this. I'm afraid I'm gonna have to. I've been on here a while. Yeah. So, anyhow, we'll be back on this weekend. And I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. And we'll see you guys